let's cross live to our Lagos studios and speak to the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Felix Morka, on Newsnight tonight. Well, we just heard from the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, there, saying these defections, this people joining the party is a welcome development. It's a healthy development, quoting him there. But some Nigerians are wondering, how healthy is democracy without opposition? When you hemorrhage opposition parties to this extent, is this good for Nigeria's democracy? Is it good for this government?
Thank you so much, Ngozi, for having me. Now, Ngozi, let me remind you and remind Nigerians that at some point in the history of a democracy, the PDP governed this country with, if I'm not mistaken, about 27 governors of 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, at that time, there was no hue and cry about the PDP dominating Nigeria and extinguishing democracy. Now, from the count I have, maybe about 21 now, and with Delta now joining, we may now have about 22 states, if I'm not mistaken. But that's nowhere compared to what we had under the PDP at some point in recent years. You see, democracy is also about freedom. It's also about choice of citizens to make informed decisions about their political determination, to determine for themselves who and which party they choose to affiliate with. That is a fundamental freedom that everyone has, including the governor of Delta State. And for that matter, including anyone else who may tomorrow choose to join the APC or join any other party for that matter. So look, I think, we shouldn't really always frame this conversation, in terms of threats to our democracy because somebody or some official or an individual, a group of persons, decide to join one party or the other. That is fundamental to the sustenance of our democracy. I think what happened today in Delta is, an epochal moment, which in our party, as I said in my statement, we welcome with elation, and we're hoping that, our party in Delta will now be positioned to contribute maximally to the realization of our progressive objectives, but more importantly, the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President.
Well, Mr. Morka, from what you have said, I guess congratulations are in order for the APC, but at what cost? And I ask you because there are those who say you are not just welcoming defectors to your fold as a party, but you are weaponizing state powers to orchestrate it, including our earlier guest from the PDP, the Deputy National Chairman, who talks about coercion, harassment, and luring. So at what cost, really? What are you dangling at these defectors? And how do you respond to those who say you're harassing, you're coercing people to join your fold? Some of them even cite Rivers State as an example.
My dear friend Adesowa, no one is coercing anyone. Delta State is my state. Don't forget, I am a Deltan. I'm from Delta State. And in my state, everyone knows that we don't yield easily to intimidation. We don't. We are originally Bendelites and now we're Deltans. And, we don't take kindly to people who intimidate us. What you're witnessing is, pure voluntariness, a decision by the governor and those with him to join our party. They are not joining our party because anyone in APC has intimidated them or has cajoled them. Delta is one of the richest states in this country, at least going by, FAC allocations. So, the governor is well resourced. So he's not, one of those states where they beat short on resources and looking for, assistance from anywhere. Delta, by right, has enormous resources that flows to it. So look, there's no basis on which anyone can suggest credibly that, this what we're witnessing today was a result of intimidation or anyone cajoling anybody. That is not the case. Look, you must also recognize, Adesua, that the PDP is in a hot mess as a party. How do you even explain the massive contradictions in the People's Democratic Party? The fact that the party cannot get its own acts together. The leader of that party, supposedly the man who was the presidential candidate for the PDP in the last election, it's neither here nor there. He's busy, running amok, talking about coalition, whereas he will not spend 10 minutes fixing the problems in his own party. You see, so when people decide that, look, because there is no headway and there's no pathway forward, they want to leave, you can't really blame them because the party has failed them. The party has failed to offer them any kind of serious, prospect for engaging. These guys are in politics because they want to engage. They want to govern or they want to, compete for power and they want to, serve. But when a party makes it impossible by its own internal contradictions and failures to give them a credible platform to serve or to compete for power, then, look, it makes sense that sometimes they decide actually to move on, and that's what they've done in Delta.
Right, another leg I'd like to add to Adesua's question. I mean, the good old saying that if you join the APC, your sins are forgiven. Is that what might be playing out here if these defectors are not being threatened and they're not being coerced and they're not being lured? Is this what is playing out? And really, exactly what has the APC done in a way that this mass defectors would be endorsing the party, the APC, the ruling APC?
Well, look, Ngozi, if we have done nothing right, we are offering a serious, credible, stable, forward-looking political platform for them who are coming into our party to engage. And we are offering nothing except the prospect that when they join us, they join a progressive party that is settled, reasonably settled in its structures, in its programs, in its commitment to service. The president, everyone knows, is doing his best to salvage, a situation that has, really, gone bad generationally, and he's working hard. And some of these people who are joining the party now see that there's possibility working with this president to really, make a frog leap, a quantum leap for Nigeria forward, economically, socially, and in all respects of governance. So, I think that we shouldn't really underestimate, the alternative that APC offers to them who are in the PDP, who right now are reeling from the pain of the, utter confusion and total abdication of responsibility, by the PDP and its leadership.
Okay, Mr. Morka, are you saying that you have to join the APC before you can work with the president? Because when you say that they have seen, what the APC what the president and the administration is doing, are you saying that there should be no opposition before we can have democracy or smooth governance? That's on the one hand. But I'd like to also ask you about the likely fallout for your party. Particularly in Delta State, we've heard in the past the former deputy president of the Nigerian Senate, Senator Ovie Omoagege, who had openly said that he would not ever want Governor Oboroweri to join the APC in the state. Of course, some would say he said that out of his own personal preservation and interest, as the leadership of the party in the state will change, as you know. So how are you likely to deal with the fallout and internal wranglings from all these defectors you are receiving?
No, as I said, APC has a robust system of conversation and engagement and negotiation. Well, our internal mechanisms for discussion, negotiation, and compromise is very advanced. And I think that that's what a lot of people don't give us enough credit for. But we on the inside, we know that our systems, are able to discuss and, even some of the most testing sensitive questions and find, answers. So look, nobody is saying this matter is, nobody's simplifying it. But be rest assured that in the coming days and weeks, all of the critical stakeholders in the party, including the incoming governor and, other leaders of the party at different levels, will be engaged in very thorough, I think, mutual conversations that will resolve whatever knotty issues, that might exist, and work it out. Hopefully, with mutual understanding that will then support the party's quest to, march into the future with confidence and with purpose, to go in there to compete for power in Delta State and win Delta and reposition Delta and also make Delta contribute maximally to the realization of the president's renewed hope agenda for the good of all Nigerians.
So you all have to be in the governing party for governance to be delivered to the people. Is that what you're saying? How will the lack of opposition really serve the APC? Yeah. How will the lack of opposition serve the APC finally? Right.
No, because I didn't say that. I didn't suggest, I said nothing to suggest that, nobody is extinguishing the opposition. And the fact that the governor, has joined the APC doesn't mean that we won't have opposition in Delta. I don't know, and nobody has given any data to suggest that every single member of the PDP is joining. But, we know that a huge section of the PDP, including those who have joined even before now, just a couple of weeks ago, were in my hometown in Abo, receiving members of the DUG who also, crossed into APC from, in my federal constituency. And before that, many leaders of the PDP had joined the APC. So look, it doesn't mean that we won't have opposition. By the way, Delta is not just a two-party state. We also have other parties in the state that are there that are not joining the APC. So opposition will remain. But, again, we must not, cancel freedom, because we say, okay, everybody must stay stuck. Right. You can't compel anyone to remain in any party. There's no constitutional facility to achieve that. So I think we must then work with what we have and move forward. Those who are in the opposition will, hopefully build their own platforms. And we are committed to building our own platform as a ruling party at the national, now the ruling party in Delta State as well.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Felix Morka is the APC National Publicity Secretary joining us on Newsnight tonight.